thank you for coming out this evening. We really appreciate it. I know y'all have lots of things in your life that you could be doing, and so we certainly appreciate you coming out and spending an hour or so with us here this evening. Many of you know that I'm a nurse, and I was taught in nursing school before you could solve a problem, you got to know the facts. You got to know the issues before you can find a solution. So what I want to do is just begin by talking about some of those facts, and also to put those in perspective about why these facts are so important as we look at our economy and we look at moving forward to the future of this country. The first one, many of you probably already know, is the amount of debt that we are in. We hear about it all the time. It's $16.7 trillion. Unfortunately, it continues to grow, and that is because we continue to spend more money than what we bring in. In the federal government, we have two large categories. One is what we call discretionary spending, and that's on the blue side. So that would be all of the things that you normally think about, like education, commerce, transportation. That's all in that one blue piece of the pie. The other is our military spending, or our Department of Defense spending, is the other part of that. Those really are the only two big chunks that we actually do a budget on. It only represents one-third of the total dollars that are spent by the federal government. So when you hear us talk about a $1 trillion budget, we're not talking about the other 2/3 of the money that's spent. Because look at the total spending at the top of there. The total federal spending is $3.54 trillion. Those two blue pieces of the pie only represent a little over $1 trillion. So 2/3 of our spending is done what we call mandatory, or I call it autopilot, because we don't do anything to affect that in the budget. That's just something that moves on because there's written in the code these programs that say, written into law, we will do this. If you meet this criteria, you will get this service. So it's very, very difficult when we're looking at ways to cut. The only thing we have control over is 1/3. And that's the reason why, in order to affect the total spending and get our spending under control. How many of you remember TennCare when TennCare was put into the state here? You remember it? I see a lot of heads nodding, hands going up. This program is really a program that unfortunately looks very much like TennCare, and we know the same dynamics are happening in this that happened in TennCare, which is the reason why we believe that this needs to be repealed. We go into something that's patient-centered, market-based. I want to say thank you to the mayor and to his staff and to the county commissioners for such a wonderful reception. You know, I've got to tell you, this is the only town hall we've done so far that provided food like this. Maybe sometimes we get cookies and water, but this was pretty spectacular, so we want to say thank you for your hospitality. And please know that we consider it a great privilege to represent you. I want to end with this, because there's an awful lot of information up there that can make you feel sort of sad and say, oh my goodness, and heavy laden, and I can tell you there are some nights I have a hard time sleeping because there's a lot of stuff up there. But I believe that this country is still the greatest country on the earth. We have people still wanting to come into this country because it is the greatest country. We've gone through some pretty tough times before in our nation's history, and I think we can come out of this one as we have others. And so let us be of good cheer and know that this is a blessed country, and go home thanking the Lord that we have such a blessed country. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. Thank you for coming.